This is the 291st episode of CloudFocus Weekly for the second week of August, 2018. This episode is titled Summer Streams 2018. That was not my stomach.
What was that?
CloudFocus Week is brought to you by The Permissioner by Arkus. Mass assign and revoke Salesforce permission sets. It truly is permission sets made easy. It's available for free on the App Exchange, or go to thepermissioner.com. That's thepermissioner.com. Once again, thepermissioner.com here on Sirius XM Network.
What?
I'm your host, Jason Atwood, and joining me, co-host with some nice sound coming into the booth here, is Justin Edelstein. Justin, how you doing?
What is that? It sounds like construction.
That is
upstairs.
construction.
It sounds like the Rungu is.
The Rungu is still in the ceiling.
The Rungu is making some sounds. It's like, get out of here. I'm good, thanks. How are you? It's hot out there.
It's hot out here. It's hot out there, and it's hot in here because the Rungu is blocking the air, so we can not have sounds like the sound you hear above us.
Seriously.
All right. Well, fresh off our 5-part series.
4, I thought.
Nope.
Wasn't
5.
it 4? Didn't we do only 4 GTD episodes?
No, we did 5.
We did 5 GTD episodes?
We did the bonus.
Oh, right. We split the
right.
questions one.
And we have 291 episodes, so we're on our way.
On our way
by the
to
end
300.
Of this month.
Road to Dreamforce. Road to 300.
Road to 300. We're
Man, that's going to be hard.
No.
We're going to have to put in work.
We're going to need, like, after this one and the next one, we're going to need 7 more.
Is that how the math works?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we're doing a special episode.
Wait.
What?
So we're at 291, and then after the next one, that'll be
292.
292, and then we'll need how many more?
We'll need 7 more.
300 to
get
carry
to
the
299
1.
to 3 at Dreamforce.
Carry the 1 square root. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And we shouldn't be talking about all the news that's happening in Salesforce. We're not going to talk about any of that. We're just going to do a fun summer streaming one.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's not
there's
like
all this.
There's no anything going on.
Co-CEO action or,
No.
Winter 18 pre-release orgs or any of that stuff.
All right, and this is not my original thought, I'm going to admit, but it does feel, and I posted this internally, and I'm going to say it aloud on this podcast.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I feel like we're not going to talk about the co-CEO, but and the personality or whatever, but this does feel like a big miss in this universe and this day and age for
Agreed.
this company. It seems like a diversity miss.
Agreed.
On many levels.
100% agree.
Wish Salesforce had kind of done optics on this. We talk a lot about it at Salesforce at Arkus about optics, and as we use as a way of like how does something look from the outside, and this just, I don't know. There's just something not right with this. Anyway, so we're not going to touch that. We didn't touch it.
Congrats to Parker Harris, though.
For making the board.
Yeah. After 20 years of hard work, you're on the board, buddy.
You're on the board, and you're on the board, and you're on the board.
Let's table that.
Yes.
That whole discussion, because
Okay.
we can make predictions about the future based on those 2 actions. And we'll talk about those at another time.
Wow, we're not going to talk about those either. Wow, okay. Well, we are going to talk about something so important. We thought we'd just do a fun kind of like...
Listen, it's the summer, people. Yeah. We're having fun with our podcast. Just deal with it.
Wait till the next week when it's really not about anything.
It's about nothing.
Nothing. So we have been watching shows over the summer. We like to watch a lot, but we haven't done a streaming episode, so we said, why don't we just we'll put together a quick list about stuff we've been watching over the summer, streaming stuff. Mine's all over the place.
Mine's absolutely all over the place.
Not in order. Like, I don't have a top whatever, so it's just things we've been watching. This is not a top list. This is just stuff we're watching, stuff that's kind of piqued our interest. Maybe we're through them or whatever.
Yep.
So we're going to go down. How many do you have?
8.
Okay, I have 10, so we'll throw them out there as we go. I can pull off a couple because some of them are old.
Well, we might have some crossovers, so leave them on there.
Oh, okay, cool. So why don't you go with what's the first thing you've been watching this summer?
World Cup, baby.
And we're going to give you 30 seconds per one.
World Cup.
That's over. Oh, because it's summer?
Well, do you want to define the rules? Does it have to be going on right now? I'm talking about a live thing that was streaming around the globe.
Why don't we start this podcast again? So we're going to pick things that people could go and watch now.
It's like I want to mention the World Cup streaming because I think that it's a global phenomenon. It's watched by billions, probably, plural billions of people. and it was streamed pretty well. I mean, Fox I'm going to say they did an 8 out of 10 job on it. Like, the streams worked really well, so they scaled. And it was just a little wonky with the apps because you would bounce between, like, the Fox Sports app and the FIFA app, and it was a little strange how they were tied together but not. But aside from that, I was able to watch a lot of matches that and I was really interested. I'm a huge soccer fan. I'm really interested in watching this, even though the U.S. wasn't in it. And I was able to watch everything I wanted to watch no matter where I was, whether I was on my phone or my iPad or my Apple TV or wherever. I was able to watch the streaming of the World Cup, and I thought that was awesome. It's totally there. Like,
I'll give them a 5 because I actually thought the whole trying to set up and get on those apps was terrible.
The apps were bad, but once you got in, it worked.
But they had a huge miss. Which ESPN can do. DirecTV, I'm talking about other sports streaming, is be able to split it and see two things at the same time.
Yeah, but World Cup is only, except for the last match day of the group, you're only watching one thing at a time.
That would have been perfect.
Yeah, it would have been nice for that.
And be able to, and if you watch, ESPN can do it now.
ESPN can do like a quad.
Yeah, and DirecTV can do it. DirecTV Sunday Ticket can do it where you can put 2 or 3, like.
But this live sports streaming thing is not going away. This is the only thing preventing me from cutting cords is like live sports.
Ding! Your time's up. Sorry.
Okay, done. Your time.
So this is a cool one. I'm going to try to keep these all to very quick. YouTube channel. A friend of mine told me that. I think I've maybe talked about it on the podcast. I'm going to talk about it again as part of it. I've watched all of them. I have 3 of these are YouTube picks, actually. As YouTube gets more and more into shows. I think they have original shows now. This is a YouTube channel. It's called Primitive Technology. It is, I think there's like 20, 30 videos. They
range told me
from
about this one.
7 to 20 minutes long. And it is about a guy who's I think he's in Australia. Again, you don't really know much about it because it's the nature of it. And there's this whole, I guess, thing happening, a meme or a YouTube or internet phenomenon where people go into the wilderness and just build stuff with no man-made anything. And it is fascinating. It's almost meditative. You can almost meditate while watching it, kind of, because there's no sound other than the sound of the outback. There's no talking. There's no reading, and you just watch him do amazing things. And in the end, sometimes like build a bow and arrow, but sometimes it's stuff that takes him days to do. Again, he never looks at the camera once. I think in one video, he one time looked at the camera. It's just him. There's no one else. He's like just in like a little shorts, and that's it. That's fascinating. I would suggest just go watch one of them. And if you don't think it's just absolutely fun to watch, I don't know. Anyway, it's called Primitive Technology on YouTube. Super fun. Next.
Excellent. Thank you. You told me about that one. Glow season 2, Netflix.
Okay.
Love Glow. Love the first season.
How was second season?
Love the second season. It was excellent.
Really?
Yes. Very good. Very good continuation of the show.
For someone who doesn't know what Glow is.
So it's about the what does the G stand for? Glamorous, I think.
Yes.
Ladies of Wrestling.
Yep.
Which was an 80s phenomenon. And Netflix did an original series that kind of chronicles it in a way. It's like I don't know, what'd you call that? A docudrama, I guess?
No, it's a show.
It's a show, but it's about a real thing. And it's really, really well done. Alison Brie is in it. She's excellent.
Yep.
She's always excellent. Mark Maron's in it. He's awesome in it. He's hilarious. It's a really, really great show.
Yep, 2 seasons on Netflix.
Yeah, and we just hammered through season 2 like in 2 or 3 days or something.
Haven't started it. That's definitely gonna be on one of my put that on the plane. That's a plane show.
It's great. Did you watch season 1?
Yes. We watched season 1.
Yeah, you'll love season 2. It's really good.
Next one's a podcast.
I didn't know those counted. See, you don't share rules with me until after.
Streaming.
Downloaded?
World Cup.
Well, that's really streaming because that's live.
Things that people can see. So, as everybody knows, I might have even mentioned this before. I'm going to mention it again because I think it's fascinating. It's this fascinating type of podcast. It's called The Omni Show, and it's by the Omni Group, the makers of OmniFocus and OmniGraffle and all that. I'm obviously a huge fan of their software.
The Omni.
And they have a show, The Omni Show. It's just a podcast about them, and they just this one guy he interviews people at the company, and from everybody from office administrator to support specialist to developers to the CEO, and he interviews them. Does about 20-25 minutes. Some of them are better than others. I mean, they do get a little personal. Sometimes it gets into road mapping stuff, which I find more interesting, but you really get a sense of this company and like how they grew, and I find that interesting. Obviously, I'm running a company, so I kind of like, I do love the sort of hearing about how they're doing things, and kind of it just reminds me of a different type of world where they open up not the kimono, but they open up the curtains, and you kind of can hear from behind the scenes of what's going on. There's some companies out there that are so private, like Apple, where Apple doesn't even they don't share anything. It's like they just have their announcements, and then there's companies that are just right out there. Ding. Sorry. Next.
So I've been watching a show on Netflix called, a lot of mine are Netflix, Explained.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one from Netflix. So this is a weekly show. So Netflix has started to get into we're going to release one of these a week, right?
Right. I have one of those in my
Michelle
list.
Wolf show, I think, is once a week, and this one's once a week. And they're kind of like podcasts. They're like 15 to 20 minutes, and they explain things. It's just called Explained. So a couple of my favorite episodes so far, I think there's like 12, 13, 14 episodes out there, and they just keep pumping them out like every Wednesday, I think. So I watched cricket last night, so I understand cricket now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they just go deep. They just go right in and get the experts and explain to you what things are. So I've watched the cricket one. I've watched the esports one. I've actually watched way more, but these are like my favorite ones. I've watched the cryptocurrency one. Like, it's just a quick snip, like 14 to 18 minutes of like, here it is. And it gives you a good intro, and in some cases, a really good understanding. I had no idea cricket was as huge as it is around the world. There was some match in 2015 that over 1 billion people watched.
Wow.
One match.
I can't decide what would put me to sleep faster, watching cricket or golf.
Well, apparently, as I've learned yesterday, so cricket used to be like a 5-day event, and they shrunk it down to like a 3-day event. Then they shrunk it down to like a 1-day event, and now they have this new style. It's called like T20, something like that. Someone will correct me, I'm sure. And it only takes 3 hours.
Only 3 hours.
Well, a football game takes how long?
3 hours.
Right. So it takes 3 hours. That's the match. And if you're into cricket, then, hey, you watch it.
But honestly, if you were, we're into football. Imagine you have a 3-day football game.
You wouldn't like that.
Oh my God, I would love it.
No, people would just die.
It would be great. Ding.
But Explained, really good. You'll learn some stuff.
Another Netflix show. I've made this pick before, but it's gone from Crackle to Netflix. And there's now a new series of them.
Yes.
It's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld. There's a whole new set for this year, so it's a brand new one. I think some of them were shot in 2017 or 2018. This started on Crackle, which was a Sony thing. Like, Sony's trying to get into it. Somehow Netflix in their buying spree, picked it up. So now all the seasons, they're all named by the types of coffee, which is kind of, that's cute, but
sometimes they don't even drink coffee on the show.
Mostly they do. Almost every single time. They're definitely sponsored by...
I watched the John Lavazza is definitely a sponsor. But I watched the John Mulaney one, and they didn't have coffee.
Well, they went rug shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say it is I'm more fascinated almost by not but the persons they talk to, because sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's really about, I think I said this the last time, it's really about if Seinfeld connects with them. If he connects and he thinks they're funny and thinks they're interesting, the episodes are amazing. The Alec Baldwin episode is amazing because they just talk and share stories and stuff. You're just like, you get into it. Then there's ones with John Mulaney, which John Mulaney is very funny on stage. I don't know him personally. I've never heard him interviewed ever before, but it didn't come across that great. It was kind of like, eh. And I've seen him do Sarah Silverman, who I think is hysterical, and that one didn't go well.
The Tina Fey one didn't go well either.
No, so I'm
like, oh, I love Tina Fey. I'm going to watch this one, and then it didn't go great.
But sometimes, right? So it's really because he's not a professional interviewer.
No.
He's not.
He's
Zach
not David Letterman.
Galifianakis, that one's funny. There's a little twist at the end, so I'll leave you that. Anyway,
All right.
Comedians in Car Getting Coffee, Netflix now. Ding.
All right, I'm still on Netflix. A lot of these are from Netflix. Some of them not so much, but I'll stick with John Mulaney. Kid Gorgeous. Kid Gorgeous, his newest special, is out. So
Another one?
well, no, this is the most recent one.
Okay.
But it came out this summer. I actually saw it live at Radio City, filmed. I don't think I was at the taping one, but fantastic stand-up. If you've never heard of John Mulaney, go watch some stuff on Netflix. He's all over Netflix, actually. He's got 3 stand-up specials on there. He's got the cartoon. What's the cartoon?
Big Mouth.
Big Mouth is
That was
John
on my
Mulaney.
list.
He's got
As an extra.
He's got Oh Hello, which is his Broadway show with him and Nick Kroll are on there. I'm sure he's developing more and more stuff for Netflix. As a matter of fact, I think he might have wrote something that I recently watched. But anyway, Kid Gorgeous is the newest John Mulaney stand-up special. I would recommend, if you want to get into John Mulaney stand-up, start with The Comeback Kid, which is his second one, which has some amazing stuff in it. And then go into Kid Gorgeous, because you'll get into like who he is and how his style goes, and then Kid Gorgeous hits it home with The Horse in the Hospital is just a great bit.
I will then follow up with another stand-up, because I love it. And Netflix, by the way.
Netflix is crushing the stand-up.
Crushing stand-up. Maybe it's just it's so cheap to do, because you go to pay the guy, you do the one scene, you make the money from the show itself, because you can make the money on the show,
right?
And then you film it, and boom,
yeah.
And
HBO had been doing it for years, and they don't do it anymore.
They do, but they're like one every.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, I got my hour on HBO. It's like, who cares? There's like 1,000 hours on Netflix. Yeah. Go get an hour on Netflix.
So Neil Brennan, by the way, there's a comedian in Cars Getting Coffee with Neil Brennan. He does one called Three Mics. Have you watched it yet?
No, you told me about it. I've got it.
So it's fascinating. And here's why. So it's a stand-up, whatever. It comes out onto the stage. But on the stage are 3 mics. One in the middle, one on either side. And he does this routine where the one mic is just one-liners. Literally, he goes up to the mic and he reads one-liners. Just one-liner jokes. They're funny. Mm-hmm. The one all the way on the other side of the stage is stand-up. Typical stand-up. You set up a little sign, you make a little story, what's up with this? And you go into the saying, it's funny. And the middle is called emotional. And he talks about himself and his family and his trials and tribulations at a very, very deep level, like a therapeutic level. And there are parts of it that are funny, but it is funny in a kind of, wow, I can't believe he's kind of expressing that, right? And there's like moments. And he goes and he does like 3 jokes, then he goes stand up for like 10 minutes, and then he does about 5 minutes on the thing, and then keeps switching. And he does 3 rounds. Mm-hmm. It's great. First of all, it's incredibly original. Like, I've never seen something like that. And he's very funny. And he was the writer with, I'm forgetting his name, The Chappelle Show. He was the writer on The Chappelle Show.
Okay.
So he's a very funny guy. And him and Chappelle are buddies.
And Chappelle's huge on Netflix, too.
And Chappelle's huge on Netflix. So, Neil Brennan, 3 mics on Netflix.
Very cool. All right. I'm very Netflix heavy. Documentary, Icarus.
Oh, yeah.
This won the Academy Award in 2017. So just last year, it won the Academy Award for Best Documentary, which is pretty incredible to think about. Like, Netflix won an Academy Award. That's pretty cool.
It's crazy.
So I'm not going to necessarily tell you what it's about, like, the per se, but it started. I don't think when they started doing Icarus that they were thinking that what they were making was what it ended up being. So it starts out with a guy just investigating like blood doping and how it works.
Right.
And like, hey, I do this. I'm a bike rider. I ride in this race every year. It's an extremely challenging race, not the Tour de France or anything, but I want to see if I could dope and like figure out how to dope without being detected, like cheat how everyone else cheats. and get away with it, and see if it actually improves performance. And it goes down a path.
Right. It goes somewhere else.
It goes somewhere very, 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 very deep with a Russian whistleblower. And we'll just leave it at that. Go watch it. It's fascinating.
It's great. We started to watch it, the wife and I, and we didn't make it all the way through the end. I don't know what happened, so I need to go back and finish it.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
I'm going to go off. I'm going to pick a couple off Netflix because a lot of these are on Netflix. I'll come back. One that's on now, I think we're on 4 episodes in. So by the time you listen to this, you might get 4 or 5 episodes. Kind of combining 2 of my favorite sort of creators of content. When you can take Stephen King and J.J. Abrams, Stephen King behind, well, every Stephen King book out there in the world.
Is that how that works?
And J.J. Abrams behind...
tons of science fiction stuff.
Well, started with Alias way back. I think he was... And then he's been behind the
Best
new
known
Star
for
Trek.
Lost.
No. Star Trek's.
I think he's best known
and Star
for
Wars.
But I think he's best known... Like, that's when people knew who J.J. Abrams was.
That's where he kind of blew up.
Yeah.
But Alias was huge. I mean, Alias was great. Anyway, go back and rewatch Alias. It's really good. So you take Stephen King, who... So I love Stephen King books, but he has produced a lot of video content, let's call it, from the miniseries The Stand to movies. He's really a mostly miss. Like, mostly his movies come across as pretty bad. I mean, there's a few that are great. Obviously, The Shining and Firestarter. There's some that kind of come across well, but most of them kind of don't do well. And his TV stuff has never been great. So I kind of love that it's J.J. Abrams, who has a great eye for this. This show's called Castle Rock. And the best part about it is... So if you're a Stephen King fan, it's like in the universe of Stephen King, because they're in the town of Castle Rock that has been known to have the dog problem, Cujo, and like other things.
So you've read all his books. I don't know anything about him.
So that's...
I don't read either.
Yeah. Anyways, that's kind of fun. So if you're a Stephen King fan, or you just watch it, it's not horror. It's creepy. It's creepy, kind of suspenseful. But you like didn't you like American Horror Show?
American Horrors? I liked the first couple seasons, but then I think it fell off.
And this has great actors and has some like, some fun stuff, and it's kind of building. You're like, what is this going on? So it has some of that J.J. Abrams like Lost, like what, like that, what, not, like Lost wasn't scary, it wasn't jump scary, it was like suspenseful and what's that thing and smoke monsters and whatever. Anyway, Castle Rock is on Hulu. There's one for Hulu.
Lost was a fantastic binge show.
Yes, that was actually
It was like that, and 24 was like, okay, binging's the way to watch TV.
I did really watch 24 once straight out.
Yeah, I mean, it was meant for binging.
Yes, it was great.
I mean, Fox didn't know it at the time, but okay, next. All right, I'm gonna move over to Amazon. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh yeah,
what a show!
Haven't watched it.
Oh, so funny.
Give me a little.
So good.
Tell me why I want to watch it.
Think it's like loosely based on the life of Joan Rivers in her early days. So set in like the 50s, 50s, I think 60s perhaps, in New York. And the difference between like, Mrs. Maisel's home life on the Upper West Side and her late night life down in the clubs in the Village. And it's just, she's so good in it. It's so funny.
The actress?
Yeah.
Who is it? Do you know?
Her name's Rachel something. I forget her full name. But she's incredible in it. And there is a season 2 coming. I know it's filming. Actually, I think it's done filming. So I think they're just putting it all together now. So should be out later on this year. But go catch up on the first season now on Amazon. You will not be disappointed. It is really, really funny and really, really entertaining.
Great. Amazon, by the way, they are a good travel because you can download.
You can download.
Netflix and Amazon. Hello, Hulu. Hello, HBO. Can you guys catch up, please?
Downloads.
What's up with you people?
Especially HBO. Like, I get Hulu. They don't have a whole lot of that's original content.
They have tons. Handmaid's Tale. They have these shows. I mean, there's so much.
I think all that they would necessarily allow you to download would be the original stuff.
No,
now
they own the thing of it. It's the same wing. The same thing with Amazon. Amazon, you can download movies. They don't own those movies. They just have them for that period of time. They have them rented or whatever the structure is that they get them. It's the same thing. Same thing with HBO. I'd actually say HBO
should be the one that really has it.
And it's the worst app. Of all the apps, it's the one I go and I'm like, oh, this is so terrible. Just every time I'm like, why do you not like show me the stuff I've been watching?
Right.
Never.
They have no intelligence to the app. Like Netflix is like, hey, you watch this stuff. Do you want to watch this stuff?
Yeah.
Or you recently watched, or this is what you've been watching. Like continue watching.
Here's a new episode of that thing.
Hulu does the same.
You might be picking this, but maybe you didn't. You did mention it, so I'm gonna say it. I've really been enjoying another weekly show on Netflix. Because I've kind of been mad that Sarah Silverman's Hulu show, which I don't know where it is. Maybe it's coming back for another season. And The Break with Michelle Wolf. So Michelle Wolf, comedian. She's got a great special on HBO called, I don't know, but it's a comedian special on HBO. She did the White House Correspondents' Dinner where she kind of blew up because
she's rather controversial.
She is very controversial. Her show is very controversial.
She says whatever she wants.
She does. She's kind of what if Jon Stewart was a woman who said whatever the f she wanted on a show that's not, that doesn't have to be.
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, and so it is very political. I'm warning. It's very political. It is very funny. I actually find her very, very funny.
Her voice is funny.
Her voice is terrible, and she talks about it all the time. She does, and it's the same thing. She comes in, she does a comedy, she does a stand-up bit, she goes to sit at the desk, and then she does usually two kind of pre-done skits.
I like her fake commercials.
Fake commercial, very funny,
very funny.
And sometimes she goes a little like where Sarah Silverman would go deep on something and do like kind of a funny but heartwarming, or like go when she talked to the
that was
redneck family
goal of her show,
right?
Michelle Wolf's doesn't have the goal of like, let me bring some people together. She's like, no, I'm just gonna like rail on you a little bit.
She's the Daily Show without a filter.
Beyond.
Yeah. Again, warning. Stuff she says.
Yes.
She makes Amy Schumer blush.
Right.
All right. How many more do you have? I've got two more.
I just have two more as well. Another doc. A lot of documentaries called Nobody Speak.
Okay.
Heard of that one? Maybe? No? All right. Nobody Speak. I think you can watch this on Amazon. Pretty sure. This is chronicling the Hulk Hogan versus Gawker thing that happened like 2 or 3 years ago.
There were inappropriate pictures, as I remember.
Yes, but what it really gets to the heart of is how Gawker got essentially just shut down as a publication because somebody didn't like what they said about them.
Right. And
the whole entire, you got to watch it because the way that it's, it'll make you angry actually if you care about a free press and you care about any sort of freedom of speech. You're gonna get upset when you watch this documentary because you could see how some rich person could just come in and flatten and just destroy an organization.
That's the documentary bias, is that it's that way.
That is the bias of the documentary.
But I will also say this is that happened years ago.
Yes.
But we're in a very weird time right now where news medias and what happens in news and people publishing, things that just don't exist and influencing people, like there's a spectrum out there, and we have to be very careful both ways, not to shut down the media and not let them whatever, but also not to have the media be blowing stuff up that doesn't exist or influencing things or putting out false facts.
Right.
I mean,
but this was it was a rag. It's a public thing versus a private thing, and this was a private thing, right? It's Gawker private. They're not like NBC,
right?
They're like public company or anything like that.
Right, but the problem is that everybody, we won't get into it, but like everybody has a voice now with Twitter and blogs. Like you can go stand up a blog and start pounding on people, or a YouTube channel, which anyway, it's
a little scary though when you watch it, because it's like, oh my goodness, someone could just shut me down.
Shut down your podcast.
Nobody Speak is what it's called.
Ding. Next, I'm going to go to CNBC because I love me some CNBC shows.
Yeah, I know you do.
Another one called The Deed. So it's only on CNBC. I have it TiVoing, and it shows.
But where can I stream it?
Yeah, you can stream it off their CNBC site or their app. So you can do it either way.
That's weak sauce for a streaming situation.
Have an app?
Have you streamed it?
No.
Weak sauce.
Yeah,
For
totally.
a streaming episode?
I stream it.
You have extras. Come on.
No. I want to talk about it. So if you like those types of shows, the Shark Tank, if you like the Profit, this one it's in the same thing. It's just one of those kind of like this. He lives in New Orleans, so I think you'd love it.
I'm in.
Yep. And all he does is he goes to people who are trying to flip houses, and he helps them. So he knows he's been in the industry for 20 years. He's got this great personality. He's got like the tied back hair and like always the open shirt with the chest, and like he's very sweet. He's very like a nice guy. He doesn't yell or scream. He doesn't get he's not like
He's not Gordon Ramsay.
He's not Gordon Ramsay. And he comes in and he makes a deal with them and basically says, okay, he gives them funding. So he says like, oh, you need $100,000 to finish this. Here's my deal. I'll give you the $100,000, interest free, 3 months. But after that, I'm going to take 10% of the profit of the flip. Plus, if it goes beyond 3 months and you don't sell it, then I'm going to have 8% interest for whatever. And they're generally good deals. They're better deals than you would get at any bank. But then he also helps. He goes in and helps them. It's an hour-long show. I don't know. It's really good. It's not like a must watch, but I love these shows. So this one it's basically the profit plus like flipping. So it's the kind of that's how they pitched it. They're like, what if you took something like the Profit and you and you put in house flipping and put it in New Orleans where they're rebuilding all these houses. I mean, there's just so many of them that need to be rebuilt. So anyway, you would like that. The Deed.
I would like that.
What's your last one?
I'll check it out.
Ding.
All right, so this is an oldie but a goodie, and they keep pumping out new seasons, although I don't know what's going to happen in the future. It's called Mind of a Chef. It's on Netflix. I would suggest starting right at season 1, although you don't have to. Season 1 follows David Chang around for like 13 or 14 episodes, and like just Mind of a Chef tries to get into like where do these really profound chefs get their inspiration from. And like an episode will just be called Smoke. And then they'll just follow David Chang around where he's like learning about the flavor of smoke and how he can learn from like barbecue pit masters about how he can bring that flavor back into the food that he makes. Wow. Which is more like Asian focused.
Right.
He's known for his ramen shop here in New York, but he's now way bigger than that. And they've done like 5 seasons, and each season kind of goes with a different chef. The first season was definitely my favorite because David Chang, and I know him, and I've eaten at a bunch of his restaurants here in New York. And it was also narrated by Anthony Bourdain, R.I.P.
Yep.
So I don't know where that's going to go from here, but there are 5 seasons worth, and all of the seasons are worth watching, and they all follow really great chefs. I think the second one was really good. His name's Sean something. He does Southern cuisine, so they really dig into like, they're talking about like rice, like what rice means in the Low Country.
Wow.
And it's like, wow, this is very interesting. How people eat, the culture, how it all just ties together in their brains, and how they come up with like these wacky courses, and
right.
or like how David Chang figured out that he needed to use alkaline noodles instead of regular Asian pasta, and he goes to like an Italian shop in Little Italy in New York, and they're like making pasta together, and they're figuring it all out.
Spoiler alert.
No spoilers.
Right.
Just watch the show. It's really good. I would start with season 1 because David Chang's really interesting, and then see if you like the format of the show, and then see if you like some of the other people. It's on Netflix. It's called Mind of a Chef. There's 5 seasons, and then there's a bunch that like this was like one of the first ones that was on there. It's a PBS show though, that's now on Netflix. There's a bunch now on Netflix that they've produced, like Chef's Table, I think, is another one that has a couple seasons. So if you're into that cooking stuff, Netflix is starting to get into that too.
The cooking stuff. All right.
Yeah, the cooking shows.
Last one. Not by any order, but something I really enjoy this show, and it now has 2 seasons, although seasons again, what is a season anymore? Like really, like seasons are. It's a documentary series, I guess. It's called The Toys That Made Us. I cannot highly enough recommend. It is if you need something that like you're had a bad day, the world is too crazy for you. You just watched a terrible documentary about the end of the planet, and you just need something light and nice. Watch The Toys That Made Us, and each episode is about a toy, usually a 70s 80s toy, and the history of that toy. It is very funny the way they do it. It is it's not a dry documentary at all, and they really dig in and really tell the history of that one toy. So there's episodes. I think the first one, Star Wars, which is probably the best episode. Second best episode was about Lego, and it's just fascinating for these companies that you kind of think of as just having millions and millions and millions and never having a problem. Well, even hearing about the history of how they came up with the molds for Lego and how the patent expired and they had to change what they were doing. And with Star Wars, hearing about the history of their licensing, it's the greatest story of licensing ever.
Oh yeah,
because this guy messed up. They didn't pay $10,000 and they lost $1 billion.
Yeah,
$billion
huge industry that continues to be alive today.
Yeah. And because
I worked in a toy store. I worked in a toy store in high school, and I remember KB Toys, R.I.P. For the second time today. And I mean,
I like that you use the same thing for a human being that passed away as a toy store. Okay, just fine.
Yes,
my coffee, R.I.P.
Well, no, there's still coffee in that cup.
It's gonna be R.I.P. any moment now.
Soon enough. But man, when I worked there when episode 1 came out.
Yeah.
And oh my.
Yeah.
Like when those toys hit the shelf, adult men were like, don't put those on the shelf, I'll buy in the whole box. It's like, you don't even know what's in the box. It's like, I don't care. Buy in the box. Okay.
So there's I think 8 now. They have everything from He-Man to the other nice thing is it kind of brings you back to your youth.
Isn't there like a Barbie one? Right?
Barbie ones, they're all very good. So even if you didn't play with the toy, that's the thing. Is like I played with these toys, Legos, and I still play with Legos.
Barbies.
I love Barbies. But like My Little Pony, I didn't necessarily. But it's just fascinating. There was one on Hello Kitty. The story behind Hello Kitty.
Oh, Hello Kitty must be nuts.
Fascinating. Well, but it's not even what you think, like how it came about, where it did, what they went through. Like,
I remember in like first grade, kids would start showing up with like a Hello Kitty, like little change purse or
again,
something.
a licensing thing. Wait till you watch the episode and watch and learn about how they licensed it and how they went to sell it originally, which was originally in America. They sold it door to door.
And as everyone knows, my background is in licensing, so I will totally enjoy all of these toys.
Yes, you should watch these. All on Netflix. Really, really, really good. Anyway, all right. Well, that's it. That's all.
We're not making picks, right?
No, we just picked 15-ish shows that you should watch, and with some others thrown in there for fun, some extras. Anyway, go enjoy those. Finish off your summer on a beach somewhere, reading a book or whatever.
By the way, on my list, if I were to recommend you do only one thing only, I'd say go watch The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
If I were to say watch one thing only, but it's hard because they're all. I would say Toys That Made Us. Like it's 8 shows. They're really fun. Anybody can enjoy it. There's a lot about business in it. The other ones are kind of fun, whatever. But I'm getting more and more interested in how YouTube is getting into actual original content and sort of monetizing that. So they actually.
I wonder who's gonna win the like live, like who you pay for live TV. There are so many players: Sling, DirecTV, YouTube, Hulu.
Yep.
And ones I've never heard of.
I've said this fall, we're big sports fans, and I said this fall I was gonna try, and I'll start in September once this football season starts. I was gonna try one a month, just try one, and see if on a Sunday I can watch these things.
Most of them have 7-day free trials, or 30-day free trials.
So I wanted to try all of them and see the person should not be named. I was at his house the other day, and he was showing me DirecTV Now and how it works and all the TVs, and and I was like, wow, it is a streaming cable box. It's kind of very cool. I'm really fascinated to see the person who's not in the game yet and why they're not in the game and how they've just not got. Actually, two players have not gotten in the game.
Amazon and
I guess Google has gotten in with
Google's
YouTube.
in with YouTube.
Amazon's there. They're just not into live yet.
They are with NFL. Thursday night games are on Amazon.
That's true. That's like dipping your toe in.
It's we can stream a live event to probably
or just even original content.
People.
Like I feel like Amazon's dipping into it. They have some stuff. They have like 5 or 10 or 20, whatever their shows.
Who's another big player?
But Apple is they are just sitting on the sidelines, and it's so weird for them to be sitting there. I mean, you hear about them. They've made deals with tons of people. You hear about it every other day. It's like Apple made another deal for this series, made another deal with this series. They are.
You know that there is a service coming. I think it's ABC and Fox teamed up.
Yeah.
To bring a new, like they're gonna pull out of Hulu, I think.
Really?
And do their own thing.
Their own. That's the thing that's getting me with all the streaming is that as each player goes out there and does their own thing, I think as a consumer, it's getting harder and harder to
you're bifurcating it.
Yeah.
But what's going to end up happening is my huge cable bundle that I pay for, which, by the way, while we're talking about this, can I just do a little gripe? I know we wanted to keep this short, but just a tiny little gripe.
40 minutes ago, we wanted to keep it real short.
The ESPN app, which I've picked many times, I'm now going to go ahead and say...
did this. You did this on the last two...
Forget
you did this on the podcast.
Yeah, but they annoyed me this past weekend because the Community Shield was on this past weekend, which is kind of the unofficial, official start of the English soccer season.
Oh, amazing.
And it's always been on TV, and at the last minute, nobody had the rights to it. ESPN grabbed it and said it's only on ESPN Plus, and ESPN Plus is $4.99 a month.
You're really complaining that?
Well, I already pay for ESPN
with your Dunkin' Donuts coffee that's $4.99.
But I already pay for ESPN.
I get it.
I already pay for you.
I get it. It's like
when
you have
HBO Go. Yes. I already pay for HBO.
I get HBO Go,
so I get HBO Go for free. If I didn't have cable, I can buy HBO Now.
Yeah.
Come on, ESPN, follow that model. That's the way I want to do it. Like, I don't want to pay you twice. I'm going to pay you once. That's it.
Then just kill your cable box and kill off the $50
I'm
you're paying a month.
what you're we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to see, like, can I live on, like, Hulu Live and make sure that I can watch the things I want to watch.
Right.
That are live. Because the rest of the stuff doesn't matter.
No, and
I will gladly pay for Hulu now,
right.
HBO Now versus HBO Go. I don't care. They're like the same thing. Who cares?
They're exactly the same thing. But Apple being out of this game, and I mean, I'm just totally fascinated to see because it's here's the $1 trillion company sitting on the sidelines, kind of going do. We have 3 shows
with the set-top box that's sitting in more people's
that you're
living
watching
rooms.
all these other things, and they're sitting there going
because the smart TVs are really not as great as the Apple TV is for $100 to tack that onto your TV.
If you're going to spend $2,000 on a nice TV like an HD whatever
4K TV
OLED,
smart thing
whatever
throw another $100 and you have a way better UI for like real.
Yep, totally.
Nice
all right,
apps.
So we'll wrap that up today. Next week we're gonna come back and talk about smart homes. How's that for an episode?
That is a good episode.
Where I have been doing some work in my apartment, and I am doing a lot. And we're gonna talk about like the technologies and how they work and what you can do. And you're basically gonna talk to me about it. So we'll do that next week. Until then. You can follow us in all places. We don't have to care about that. But until then, as always, Justin and Jason saying, enjoy those cloudy days.